so does the St. Raymond Anondas Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith. Hi, I'm Anne DeSantis, Executive Director. In 2015, the Mercedarian Friars came together because they wanted to start a foundation to help families in crisis. And that's exactly what we've been doing over these years. Whether it be something to do with divorce, separation, trauma, job loss, loss of a loved one, or other adversities, we've helped so many families get through those tough times through the spiritual works of mercy. We'd love to hear from you. Please do get in touch with us for our services. They are prayer, priestly consultation, podcasts and videos, and programs and events. We look forward to hearing from you. Just go to nonotus.org and get in touch with me. I look forward to hearing from you. God bless.
Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry present Journeys in Faith. Now, here's Anne DeSantis.
Good evening. Welcome to Journeys in Faith here on Fiat Ministry Network. It's Anne DeSantis in our third season. So exciting because I have another amazing guest for all of you on this Friday evening. I have Liz Lantigua. She's the CEO of Good News Book Fair. So Liz, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Anne. I am so happy to be here in your podcast and to be able to share my faith with you.
That's right. And that's exactly what it is, because the name of our program is Journeys in Faith. So although we always have topics, right, we talk about the ministries that many of our guests are doing, but it always starts with that guest, right? Because it was your inspiration that you had with your relationship with God that led you to where you are now. So just tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I could say that I've always been Catholic. My family was very active in the faith. My father was a Knights of Columbus. My mom and him were very active in the parish. They belonged to Cursillo, a movement. My grandfather was also in the Knights of Columbus, and my grandmother. I mean, it was like I saw my family very active in the faith, growing, learning, and working with the community always. So that left a big impression on me. And I remember in 7th grade when I was going to do my confirmation, I said, "Well, how do I put my faith into action?" And I remember that my parish had a youth group, but I wasn't old enough for the youth group. And at that time, it was not that common to have middle school youth groups. So I went to the pastor and I said, "Well, can we start a middle school youth group?" And he said, "Well, yes, but you need to have an adult minister as well, helping out." And so I begged my parents, "Please, can you be the adult ministers?" And we started a youth group. And then we worked with the archdiocese to start middle grade groups, youth groups in different parishes, and with a retreat. And then we would start that. And, and then later I belonged to the Encuentros Juveniles and now youth encounters. And that's a youth ministry from the Archdiocese of Miami. And it's to evangelize and for formation for young people. It will have its 50th anniversary next year. And yes, and so that created a lot in me because they always taught me, you're the light of the world. Wherever there's a need, do something about it. And I'm very blessed that my daughters participate. I have 3 daughters. I'm very blessed that my daughters participated in that group as well. My youngest was appointed coordinator. So that's a legacy that she will continue. And so I think that God always prepared me because I studied communications, which I use also to be able to spread the good news. And then I'm a traditionally published author. And so I used to work for newspaper as a news reporter, and then I worked as a TV producer for news and later for programming. So I was, at one point when I had my first daughter, I said, well, Lord, I want to spend time with my daughter, and my career was very active. And so I chose to stay at home and freelance from home. And as I had my kids, I decided to, I wanted to participate in their school life. And one of the things I participated was in book fairs. And I love to go to the book fair and to see what was, what was being brought to the school. And as the years continued, I saw that the books were being very edgy, with foul language, graphic violence, the occult, a lot of things on the occult, and sexual confusion. And I said, we got to do something about this. And I tried to find an alternative, and I couldn't. And I kept approaching different other entities that I thought may be able to do this. And they would tell me the same thing, maybe you should do it. So then I started discerning about that. And in 2015, we started Good News Book Fair. And as soon as I put on a website, I was getting so many requests from around the country that I said, I have to do something. And in 2018, my husband joined me. And we expanded outside of the state of Florida. So now we're in Ohio as well. And we serve the whole country. But in Ohio, we have another distribution center, and we serve Michigan, areas of Michigan, Kentucky, Indiana.
Oh, that's incredible. It's interesting to see how it's growing. And it sounds like it's very Holy Spirit driven. And I appreciate you sharing about your upbringing and your family, and just being involved in that family of faith, where that was the most important thing to you, where that led you to where you are right now, you and your husband and your family. So tell me this, how did you come up with the name of Good News Book Fair? I love the name. I think it's just very appropriate. It's good news, like the gospel, right?
Exactly. Actually, we were brainstorming, my husband and I, and he came up with it, and he said, maybe it's just, everybody knows the good news. Maybe it's just too common. And I go, that's perfect, because everybody knows the good news. And that's what we're trying to do. Because every child that brings a book home, to their home from the book fair, we hope that it will inspire the family to also think about their faith, to also want to read more and to learn more. And so I think that's so important. That was always in my mind, book fairs, even before. And I had this affinity to, and this thirst for knowledge all the time, to learn more about our faith. And even before I even thought of a book fair, and that's why I say that God prepares us for everything. When the Archdiocese of Miami, which is where we live, decided to have a big celebration for the year 2000, for the millennial, they had many activities and different events, and it was going to be at the convention center, the Miami Beach Convention Center. And I said, can we have a book fair? And they said, okay, great, but I guess you volunteered. and there's no budget. So then I said, oh, Holy Spirit, please help me. And I did the book fair. And it was great, because I had all the different Catholic publishers come and sell their books. But I also decided to have a presentation with book signing. And one of the people that I asked to come was George Weigel. And I remember that HarperCollins told me, what's your budget to bring in here? And I said, I have no budget. And then I just prayed. And I wrote a letter to George Weigel, and asking him if he could come, and how much I loved his book. And because at that time, Witness to Hope, I had read that book and I loved it. And he said, sure, I will come. And he came and picked me up at the airport, take me back. And, we did a wonderful presentation there, book signing.
Wow, how the Lord has led you to this point that you're at right now. It's just really incredible. We have a lot more to talk about, but before we take the break, just tell us, why do you feel, and I know your husband and your family, that this was something that was very relevant that you are doing because of our culture right now? Talk a little bit about that before we take our break.
Yes. As many of you know, when you go into the book fair, into the bookstores nowadays, you can get an example of what's going on in books. You see a lot of books about the occult. You see a lot of books, about political. You see a lot of books with a lot of sexual confusion for kids. And we're not talking just about middle schoolers. We're talking about, it trickles down to young kids. And so we decided that in our book fair, we were going to have the book fairs being vetted. And we have a selected group of Catholic librarians, authors, and parents, and they read all the books and they go through a strict guidelines that we have to make sure they don't miss anything. And that way we ensure that the book fairs that come to the schools are appropriate.
Oh, I love that. We have a lot more to talk about this, because I like the process, what I'm hearing about how you go about all of this to get it into the hands of those children, those families, the appropriate books that are really, driven by our faith. And so thank you so much. Now we do have to take a short break. We'll be right back here on Journeys in Faith in just a few minutes.
Why does God remain silent and motionless in a flat, white, Eucharistic host captured in the tabernacles of the world? Why? Why does God choose the Eucharistic life?
I'm saddened to think of all the people who have no idea what is taking place. They pass by churches every single day. In their heart, they're searching for meaning. And little do they know, little do they realize that the meaning they look for is found in the one who is the way, the truth, and the life. Jesus Christ is waiting for them there.
You must eat my body and drink my blood in order to have that salvation. And people knew he meant it literally, because he didn't say, oh, hey everyone, I'm just joking, especially after they said, whoa, this is a hard saying. How can we listen to this?
He was speaking to me from that tabernacle, and he was challenging me. Am I willing to turn my back on him who's done so much for us, who fed the 5,000, who walked on water?
Welcome back to Journeys in Faith on this Friday evening. Thank you so much for joining us here on Fiat Ministry Network with my friend here, Liz Lantigua of Good News Book Fair. And during the beginning of the show, she talked a little bit about her life, her faith, her mission, and how this whole idea of Good News Book Fair came about. Right before the break, we were talking about the relevance of what she's doing and how it's making a difference for these families. Talk a little bit more about what it is like for you in this ministry, because it is a ministry too, isn't it? You are the CEO, but you are seeing lives being transformed, aren't you?
Yes. And I wanted to mention there is so much demand for what we're doing, because as we were speaking about earlier, the media is targeting our kids, and they're targeting it through movies, commercials, anywhere they can. And books are the easiest way for them to get the message, because not every parent can read all the kids, the books that all the kids are reading, especially if they have avid readers. And what they have done lately is many of the publishing companies is making the books very deceiving. One of the largest publishing companies for children's books is Scholastic, and they have book fairs. And that's how these types of books go under the radar into our own Catholic schools. And it's very hard for principals or parents when they pick up a book to know if it's good or not, because they have become very deceiving. The cover may seem very wholesome, and the description in the back as well, but the content inside is completely different. And that's something that parents have to be aware of. Monitor what their kids read, make sure they read with them, which helps them very much, in their reading. But also, it's a way of being able to monitor. It's a way of being able to bond with their kids, ask questions, participate in their life. So I really recommend that because that's very important.
Yeah, it sounds like there's different worldviews, right? Everyone has a different worldview. And as Catholics, people who are devoted to our faith, we have a Christian worldview. But as we know, many of the other books that are out there, as you said, the media, the TV, all of these other products and things that are being put forth to children and to families, that worldview is quite different, isn't it?
Exactly.
So,
Because
yes,
if it was a book that talked about to kids in a very compassionate way about different things that they're experiencing and giving them hope and helping them through different struggles, that would be fine. But these books, and many times, the majority of times, they're encouraging kids to different types of lifestyles that is not will not bring them joy or happiness, and it's not with our faith.
right. Thank you for that. Now, who are your customers for the most part? Because I know it sounds like you are dealing with Catholic schools, correct? Archdiocese, diocese?
Correct.
And do you deal directly also with the families and children where they can just go to the website, purchase books, that kind of thing?
Yes. And when it comes to the schools, at first it was parents that used to call us when they used to get the book fair, and all of a sudden, they saw these types of books that were coming in, because not even the school knows what kind of books they're going to bring. They don't give them a list or anything before. And so they used to call us and say, "Oh my God, you got to come to our school." That was at the beginning. Then it was the principals, and now it's just the diocese telling us, "Hey, we don't want this type of books in our school." And that's the in our Catholic faith. Now we have gotten, without any sales or anything, we have gotten requests from Protestant schools as well. They say, "Hey, we're not Catholic, but we don't want this trash in our schools. Can you please service us?" And we said, "Of course." So we service many throughout the country, many Protestant schools as well.
Wow, that is incredible. And I know you've only been around since 2015, so you're in your 7th, going into your 8th year. And
Yeah.
so it's a wonderful thing. Now, if someone were to go to your website, they're watching the show right now and they're thinking, "Oh, I want to check it out." So tell us a little bit about the website and how they can help spread the message and how they can support what your ministry and what you're doing.
Yes, and I wanted to start by saying that when we first started this business, Good News Book Fair, we started thinking it was just going to be the state of Florida, where we're headquartered. And we had no idea that there was going to be so much request. I mean, and we knew there was a need, but we didn't know there was such a demand. And so we're trying to scale. We becoming now, we just filed all our papers, a nonprofit, to scale and be able to reach everybody that wants us around the country. As you know, you have to have a distribution center. That's how we are able to reach people, through a distribution center and then service in their area. That's why we have one in Ohio, one here in Florida. We're opening another one because Florida is very long. We're opening another one in the Central Florida, since we service the whole state of Florida. And we're trying to meet the demand from other dioceses that have said, "Hey, no more of these types of books into our schools." And I think it's just wonderful how we're all trying to work together to be able to have clean reads, which clean reads should be mainstream.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like how things are growing. You said Florida, Ohio. I mean, I'm in Pennsylvania. We'd love to see it come here. So making a shout out to people in my own area to learn about it, especially those educators and people within the diocese, archdiocese. I'm in an archdiocese, the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, but of course we have surrounding dioceses too. We'd love to see your ministry, your business expand throughout this country. So what would be those initial steps? So somebody's watching this program and they're thinking, "Yeah, I want to get it into my archdiocese or my diocese." What would be the initial steps that they'd have to take in order
Yes.
to make that happen?
Yes, they can reach us through our website. It's goodnewsbookfair.com. That's goodnewsbookfair.com. And then they click on book a fair. It doesn't mean that they're actually going to book a fair at that moment to schedule one. It means that they want to contact us to speak with us. As always, my contact is in the website. My husband with sales his name is there too, Adolfo. And we have a team working together to get everything done and ready.
Yeah, it's so important, because what is more important than our children? I mean, and helping them to grow up in the faith and virtue, morals, and really learning what it means to be a disciple and actually following Christ in their lives. And when they're given really good books and good media, it does help to make that happen, doesn't it?
Yes, and it's very important. In our books, it's just not only faith books, which are so important because we have a lot of faith books that are very engaging and fun for different ages, from pre-K to 8th grade. And we have a section for parents in the book fairs. And but we also have just books on dinosaurs, books on, different genres.
Everything.
Exactly. And it's great to see other authors also wanting to dedicate themselves to the children's market because they also see a need. I recently met Raymond Arroyo, who we have carried all his books for children, and who's been very supportive. And this is his book. This is the types of books, engaging books about the faith, and many other books about biographies and different things that are just fun and inspiring. We want kids to know that it's reading is not just a school subject. It's not just homework. It's something you do for entertainment, for growth. And I think the book fairs bring that enthusiasm to the schools and get kids reading and learning about their faith. And so,
yes, absolutely. I mean, I would love to hear a little bit also about what does a book fair look like? So someone walks into the book fair. Obviously, there's tables set up and things like that. But what kind of goes on? Who's there? And I would love to hear that because I'm sure that people in our audience would also love to know too.
When a school requests a book fair, we usually have an initial meeting with them to prepare the event. And we give them information and a planning guide, a flyer, a flyer catalog that goes in the bags, in the book bags for all the kids, to just highlight every semester the different books that we bring, because we change the books all the time because people want to see different things. So they get all that initial tools to start. And then we have a service agreement that we do with them. And after that, it's an onboarding call that we call. That we coach them how to make a successful book fair. And the book fair, when it starts, there's a lot of enthusiasm. There is a lot of promotion that the kids do. And then we reach a wider audience than secular book fairs, because we're not just a school. We're the religious ed. We have the schools, we encourage the schools to invite the religious ed, to invite homeschool families in their parish, to let the parish know. We ask them to have their clergy come to the book fair and start with a prayer, and so that everybody will find the book that they want, and then there will be a fun event. And as you know, book fairs are a fundraiser for the school's library. And so this helps the schools, increase their library and purchase good books from us as well for their libraries.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. And I think definitely people that are watching this, maybe they themselves wouldn't be sort of running something like that, but they know someone who might be interested. So I definitely want to make a shout out to you, our audience who's watching this program right now, and think about somebody that you might know at your local Catholic school, archdiocese or diocese, that you could reach out to let them know about Good News Book Fair, because they're doing wonderful work. And, my kids are grown. I wished I would have known about it back then. It's funny because my youngest daughter graduated high school in 2017, which was like 2 years after you started, but God writes straight with crooked lines, right? So the next generation, right? Well, the next generation, my family, I'm sure, will find out about and be able to utilize what your services, and just so grateful to you for what you're doing. Is there anything that's happening in this coming year that you would like our audience to find out about? Any call to action or anything for 2023?
Yes, it's very important. As I mentioned, the parents are aware of what the kids are reading, and feel that they can just approach their principals, approach their, their bishops when they have a chance, to speak to them and let them know what's going on, because maybe they might not be aware of how they might be aware of inappropriate books, but they might not be aware that how deceiving many books are today. And I'll say, there's so many deceiving books. It's not just one or few, there are books, like this. Look how cute and wholesome this book is. And the description is about a girl who wants to audition for a school musical, but inside is about same-sex attraction. And these are for third graders. I mean, there are books like this one is going to be a movie now, a major motion picture with DreamWorks. And in this volume, it's a series. It talks about the occult, and it's really scary for kids. It talks about the Dark Lord of Serpents, and it's pitiful to be good. And at the end, it's not that the good wins. It's just to be continued. And it leaves the kids like very scared because there's no, good triumphs. And so there are many books that are just very deceiving. And those are the ones that you have to be really careful about. And that's why it's so important that parents read and continue to read. And we have a lot of plans. We have plans to be able to scale wherever we have a demand. And we've gotten demand from many places. There's been dioceses, in Denver, Colorado, in Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, different all over the place, asking us to be there. And what we're trying to find is distribution centers. And we're trying to find people that, want to help us and support us so we can get there quicker.
Very good. Well, I think hopefully, and I pray that doing this show with me will help you to do that. And not only with me, but with other podcasters, other media outlets, that you can bring this message to everyone so that they and their families can find out, and that the demand is created, as you said, the demand so that dioceses and archdioceses decide that they do want to do this. And so I think it's a wonderful thing, and you're doing great work. Again, that website is goodnewsbookfair.com. Please do check it out. Is there anything else before we end that you would like to say to our audience, that you like to communicate to them?
Yes, I would like to say that to please be aware of the media for your children and grandchildren and nephews and nieces. Also, know that it's okay to speak out and speak to your principals, to different people in your diocese. You're spreading the word of how we can support them, because we're really supporting them. They want these types of good books, clean reads in their schools. And they might, at this point, maybe they're not aware that we do this work. And we are growing as a nonprofit now. So please, help us so we can reach your students, and also, create an environment so that kids will learn how important it is to read, and they will learn if they see you reading as well. And we all need to learn constantly, and reading is a fun, entertaining way to be able to learn and to grow as a person.
Absolutely, it is. Now, before we end, I also want to mention what you said about being a nonprofit organization. And that means that people can donate to your mission, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Right. So if
Yes.
they go to your website, is there a donate button there, or is there a way that they can send some funding into you to support what you're doing, this mission?
Yes, we just had all the paperwork done, and we will be putting on our buttons for donations.
Very good. So please do, everyone, keep an eye, because that's something that you can do, that I can do, to support this beautiful mission. Because right now, they're, as she said, they're in Florida and Ohio, but hope to get out there into more places. Liz, I want to thank you so much sincerely from me, from Patchwork Heart Ministry, and from Fiat Ministry Network, who are producing this show.
Thank you so much, Anne. I appreciate it. We want to be in person in all these dioceses. Right now, we're also doing virtual book fairs where we're not there yet in those dioceses. And I'm so happy that you invited us. Thank you so much to be in your show.
It is our honor. Thank you, Liz. God bless everyone. And we will see you here next week on Journeys in Faith with Anne DeSantis on Fiat Ministry Network.
Journeys of Faith is a production of Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry. For more information about Journeys of Faith, email info@fiatministrynetwork.tv. And be sure to friend, follow, and like us on social media. Just search Journeys in Faith with Anne DeSantis.